there's a lot of challenges and things that are happening in the automotive industry. Ford, within the last few weeks, plan on laying off, or must I say, buying out 1,000 employees. A lot of plants been closing, but is it going to affect the production of the Ford Broncos? That's a question, and I think not. But just check out the video just to see what this all comprises, and tell me what you think in the comments. Is it going to affect it? And but I think, hey, Ford is going to be strong to this. Check out the video, and thanks for coming by. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Ford offers the voluntary buyout program for 1,000 U.S. employees. And how is that going to affect the sale of the 2021 Ford Bronco? And what's the purpose of all of this? But before we do that, let's look into what's been taking place in the automotive industry over the past 2 years. Ford Motors is looking to buy out 1,000 salaried positions nationwide, using a variety of voluntary and seniority-based severance packages to incentivize employees to resign, which I find interesting. Now, Ford first notified employees of the buyout program in July. They're reshaping the workforce to match their critical skills and positions needed to transform the business. And what Ford is saying, that they got to transform this business to meet the deadline of electrification being 2030. And so the business has to transform. Now, staffing adjustments, including hiring and separations, are part of the multi-year process to align talent with the Ford cycles and service plan, and to turn around the automation operations to meet the needs of coming out with hybridized and electric vehicles, according to Biden plan for that by 2030, for no combustion engines to be sold, but for the world to be turning to electrified engines instead. Now, the buyout starts at 1 month of severance and benefits for Ford employees for 5 years or less. Now, the large incentive apply to those who've been working for Ford for 20 plus years, in addition to 6 months of severance and benefits. And you're also going to be able to receive reemployment assistance for the same amount of time, which sounds like a good, that they're treating their employees right. But in order for them to thrive and to exist and to meet the turning into electrification and meet the guidelines, and not only the guidelines, but in order to grow, in order for Ford to grow, they got to do what they have to do. Now, this is also in response to the semiconductor chip shortage. And Ford had to slash vehicle production across the whole North America in June. And that's something else. Now, they cut production in 8 different plants, temporarily laid off workers, if you can remember that. And that they will lose 50% of the vehicle production in the second quarter. But if you guys can remember, the semiconductor chip shortage was something else. Now, that cost the automotive industry about $110 billion in revenue. And it hit them pretty hard. And boy, can you imagine? Now, the forecast was up by 81.5% from the initial forecast of 60.6 billion, all the way up to 110. And that's a lot of research-based companies came up with this. They came up with this data. Now, the global co-leader of the automotive industry practice called Alex Partners looked into this, including a fire that happened in Tokyo, the chip supplier Renesas, and in Tokyo, the plant fire. We'll look into that a little bit more. The plant fire that happened, it was on a Wednesday, and they lost about 50% of the planned second quarter production, and an increase was largely due to the chip supplier known as Renesas Electronics for Ford and other automakers in Japan, which hit them sort of hard. Now, Renessa Electronics, which is a powerful company on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. I mean, one share is $1,165. It's quite a powerful company and a powerful chip maker. Now, they're a Japan-based semiconductor manufacturer, mainly engaged in the research and design, development, and manufacture sales and services and semiconductor products and vehicle control systems. And they support that business, which includes semiconductors for controlling the engine and the body of automobiles, and vehicle information business, which provides semiconductors for in-vehicle information devices, navigation systems, microcontrollers, systems on the chip, analog semiconductors, power semiconductors, the industry infrastructure, internet of things, this engaged in industrial business that supports the smart society and infrastructure business. So they provide the microcontrollers and everything else in other terms. Without them, we are failing that. And we need these companies in order to get into electrification and to move us in the right direction. So that's how the buyout was affected. This fire in Tokyo, what's going on with the Renesas, and also the different things has affected the production of vehicles. And not only that, the 1,000 people that are going to be laid off, everything's going to be affected. But we got to move toward electrification. And it's not going to stop Ford from selling the Broncos, and it's not going to stop the delivery. So basically, it's almost like you got to cut your hand off so you can survive and thrive in a changing environment going toward electrification and to be able to meet Biden's agenda. And if you can remember the slash vehicle production, which happened throughout happened for some time now. Now, Ford Motor cut employees due to the semiconductor chip shortage. And that impacted the whole global automotive industry. Now, they reduced production at 8 plants, if you can remember, for varying periods of time. And then into early August, this affected the product range from the F-150 and the Ford Bronco Sport to the Ford Mustang and the Ford Explorer, as you can see. Now, the automaker said production of the Ford Ranger pickups and a new Bronco SUV, which recently started shipping to dealers at a Michigan assembly plant last month in July, that for some reason Ford at that time did not want to disclose too much information about it. I guess they didn't want us to know that it's going to be affecting the Ford Bronco. So they refused to disclose any more information. Now the cuts are the latest for Ford, which earlier this year and expected to, Ford lost 50% of its vehicle production, and they expect to lose $2.5 billion in earnings, and that's 1.1 million units of production this year because of this problem. So yeah, it's going to affect us, but we don't know, and Ford doesn't want to be prospecting or telling us anything as far as what's going to happen. And we know we've been affected. I mean, deadlines have been pushed back, and it's still going to affect us as we move to electrification. But it appears as though the Homicelo assembly plant in Mexico is going to run one of two shifts of the week in order to make the Ford Bronco Sport SUV and up and coming Ford Maverick. But that's not going to affect the Bronco at all, because most of the Broncos in the United States are made in Michigan, in the Michigan assembly plant. So it's not going to affect us, and Ford is going to do everything they can do to keep the customers happy and to keep us, so we can buy the hybridized Broncos when they do come out, and the electrified ones as well. And Ford is going to be resilient through this whole thing. And yes, we are going to get our Broncos. And yes, there's going to be some hiccups in the way, but stand strong. Ford tough. Hey, Automotive Reviews, thanks for watching. Remember, like, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day. This is Bruce from AO Automotive Reviews, encouraging you to subscribe, to like, and to continue watching these videos. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to putting out a lot more great content. Thanks for watching and subscribing. Much love.